chapters 10 through 13 of the Gospel according to John, from the New Testament in Modern English, translated by Ferrar Fenton. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mark Penfold. Chapter 10. I tell you plainly, he who does not enter the sheepfold through the door, but climbs in elsewhere, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters through the door is shepherd of the sheep. For him the door is opened by the doorkeeper, and the sheep listen to his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and leads them out. And when all his own sheep have run out, he walks on before, and the sheep follow him, because they know his voice. A stranger, however, they will not follow. On the contrary, they will run away from him, because they do not know the voice of the strangers. This allegory was related by Jesus, but they did not understand what it was he was speaking to them about. Jesus, addressing them again, therefore said, I tell you plainly, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he shall be safe, and he can come in and go out and find pasturage. The thief comes only in order that he may steal, kill, and destroy. I have come in order that they may enjoy life, and have it in abundance. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his own life on behalf of the sheep. The mere servant, because he is neither shepherd nor owner of the sheep, on seeing the wolf coming, leaves the sheep and takes to flight, and the wolf snatches and scatters them. He takes to flight because he is but a servant and cares nothing about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my own, and my own know me. And as thoroughly as the Father knows me, I also know the Father, and I lay down my own life on behalf of the sheep. And I have other sheep beside these, which are not of this fold. Those also I must gather, and they will listen to my voice, and they will become one flock, one shepherd. This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my own life in order that I may receive it again. None can take it from me. On the contrary, I resign it of my own free will. I have authority to resign it, and authority to take it back again. These are the instructions which I have received from my Father. A division came again among the Judeans in consequence of these declarations, and many of them said, He has a demon and raves. Why do you listen to him? Others remarked, These are not the thoughts of a demoniac. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? After this, the festival commemorating the reconsecration of the temple took place in Jerusalem. It was then the winter time, and Jesus was walking about in Solomon's Isle in the temple. The Judeans accordingly surrounded him and began asking him, How long are you going to keep our minds in suspense? If you are really the Messiah, tell us so plainly. Jesus replied to them, I have told you, yet you do not believe. The works which I do by the power of my Father, they are evidence in support of me. But as for you, you disbelieve because you do not belong to my sheep. The sheep that are my own listen to my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give them eternal life, and they shall never at any time be lost, and no one is able to snatch them out of my hands. What my Father has endowed me with is mightier than all, and no one is able to wrest from the hand of my Father. The Father and I are one. The Judeans again armed themselves with stones for the purpose of stoning him. Jesus addressed them. Many are the beneficent acts which I have done for you from the Father. For which of these acts would you stone me? The Judeans answered him, We will not stone you for a beneficent work, but for blasphemy, and because you, although you are but a man, make yourself out to be a god. Jesus answered them, Is it not written in your own law, I said you are gods? If they are called gods, to whom the message came from God, and the scripture cannot be set aside, Do you say of the one whom the Father has consecrated and sent to the world, you blaspheme, because I said, I am Son of God? If I do not carry out the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I am carrying them out, although you have no faith in myself, have faith in what I do, in order that you may understand more and more that the Father is one with me, and I one with the Father. They then made another attempt to arrest him, but he escaped from their hands. He accordingly returned once more to the other side of the Jordan, to the locality in which John was at first baptizing, and there he stayed. Many persons then came to him, and they said, John, in fact, produced no evidence, but all that John said concerning this man was true. And many persons there became believers in him. Chapter 11. Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha, was ill, and she was the Mary who bathed the Lord with perfume, wiping his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill. The sisters therefore sent to him, saying, Master, your very dear friend is now ill. Jesus, on hearing it, however, remarked, This illness is not for death, but on the contrary for rectification from God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Jesus had a friendship with Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. Yet, when he heard that he was sick, he still remained 2 days at the place in which he was. But after that he said to his disciples, Let us return again to Judea. Teacher, exclaimed his disciples, the Judeans were just now attempting to stone you, and are you going there again? There are 12 hours in the day, are there not? Replied Jesus. If anyone walks in the day, he will not stumble, because he has the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not with him. Having said this, he added, Lazarus, our friend, slumbers, but I am going that I may arouse him. If he sleeps, Master, the disciples therefore said to him, he will be restored. Jesus, however, referred to his death, but they supposed that he was speaking of refreshing sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus has died, and for your sakes I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. However, let us go to him. Thomas, known as the twin, therefore said to his fellow disciples, Let us go as well, so that we may die with him. So when Jesus arrived, he found that he had already been 4 days in the tomb. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles distant. So many from among the Judeans had come to console Martha and Mary concerning their brother. Martha, however, when she learned that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary remained in the house. Martha then said to Jesus, Master, had you been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you may ask from God, God will grant you. Your brother shall rise again, Jesus remarked to her. I know, responded Martha, that he will rise at the resurrection of the last day. Jesus answered her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes on me, although he may die, he will live. And everyone living and believing in me shall not die forever. Do you believe this? Yes, Master, was her reply. I have believed that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming to the world. And having said this, she returned and told Mary, her sister, privately, The teacher stands near and calls you. On hearing it, she at once got up and came to him. Now Jesus had not as yet entered the village, but was at the spot where Martha met him. The Judeans then who were in her company, consoling her in the house, noticing the haste with which Mary got up and went out, followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to grieve there. Then when Mary came to where Jesus was, she fell at his feet on seeing him, and exclaimed, Master, had you been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus then saw her grieving, and the Judeans who accompanied her grieving, he was himself sad and disturbed in spirit, and asked, Where have you laid him? Master, come and see, was their reply. Jesus wept. The Judeans then remarked, "See how fondly he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind also have arranged that this man should not die?" Jesus therefore, again sighing in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, closed up at the entrance with a stone. "Remove the stone," said Jesus. Martha, the sister of the deceased, said to him, "Master, by this time the smell must be offensive, for this is the 4th day." "Did I not tell you," replied Jesus, "that if you would believe, you should see the majesty of God?" They accordingly removed the stone, when Jesus, looking upward, said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. As for myself, I know that you listen to me at all times. But I am speaking for the sake of the crowd standing around, so that they may believe that you have sent me." And having said this, he called with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" He who was dead accordingly came out, swathed hand and foot with bandages, and his head wrapped up in a napkin. Jesus then told them, "Loosen and let him walk." Many therefore of the Judeans who had come to Mary and witnessed what he had done believed in him. But some from among them repaired to the Pharisees and reported to them what Jesus had done. The priests and Pharisees accordingly convened a meeting of the Senate and said, "What shall we do? Because this man produces many evidences. If we should leave him as he is, all will believe on him, and the Romans will come and take from us this place and the nation." But one of themselves, Caiaphas, who was the high priest for that particular year, told them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you reflect that it is expedient for you that one man should die for the sake of the people, rather than that the whole nation should perish." Now he did not say this from himself, but being high priest that year, he foretold that Jesus would be put to death on behalf of the nation, and not for the nation alone, but in order that the scattered children of God might be gathered into one. From that day they accordingly plotted in what way they could effect his murder. For this reason Jesus appeared no longer publicly among the Judeans, but retired to the country near the desert, to a village called Ephraim, and he continued there along with his disciples. The Jewish Passover was approaching, and many went up to Jerusalem from that part prior to the Passover, in order that they might purify themselves. They therefore searched for Jesus, and while standing in the temple, they remarked to each other, "What do you think? Will he not come to the festival?" The chief priests and the Pharisees, however, had issued instructions that if anyone was acquainted with his whereabouts, he should report it, in order that they might arrest him. Chapter 12. Jesus, however, 6 days prior to the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from among the dead. They therefore prepared a dinner for him there. Martha superintended, but Lazarus was one of the guests who reclined with him. Then Mary, having provided a pound of the essence of pure nard, which was very valuable, bathed the feet of Jesus, wiping them with her hair. And the house was filled with the perfume of the essence. Judas of Iscariot, however, one of his own disciples, who was about to betray him, demanded, "Why was not this essence sold for 30 pounds and given to the poor?" Now he did not say this because he himself cared anything about the poor, but because he was a thief and keeper of the purse, carrying all that was put in it. Jesus, however, said, "Leave her alone, so that she may keep it for the day of my burial. For you have the poor with you always, but me you have not always." The masses of the Judeans, hearing then where he was, flocked to the place, not merely for the sake of Jesus, but also in order that they might see Lazarus, whom he had raised from among the dead. But the chief priests plotted to murder Lazarus as well, because on account of him many left the Judeans and believed on Jesus. On the following day a large crowd who had come to the festival, learning that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, plucked branches from the palm trees and went out to meet him, shouting, "Hosanna! Bless the one coming in the name of the Lord, and the King of Israel!" Then Jesus, having found a young ass, seated himself upon it, according to what is written, "Fear not, daughter of Zion. See, your king comes, sitting upon the foal of an ass." Now his disciples did not comprehend this at the time. But when Jesus was exalted, they called to mind that this was recorded concerning him, and that this had been done to him. The crowd also, who had accompanied him, gave evidence that he had called Lazarus out of the tomb, and had raised him from among the dead. It was for this reason also that the crowd went and met him, because they heard that he had produced that proof. The Pharisees therefore said among themselves, "Do you not see that you are gaining nothing? All the world is going after him." There were also some Greeks among those who had come up to worship at the festival. These, therefore, applied to Philip, a native of Bethsaida of Galilee, with the request, "We would like, sir, to see Jesus." Philip came and told Andrew. Andrew in turn came with Philip and told Jesus. "The time has come," said Jesus, addressing them in reply, "when the Son of Man will be honored. Most assuredly I tell you that if a grain of wheat thrown into the ground does not arise from its bed, it remains alone. But if it arise, it bears much fruit. The lover of his life loses it, and whoever despises his life in this world will preserve it for life eternal. If anyone would serve me, let him become my follower, and where I am, there my servant will also be. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. My soul is now in distress, and what do I say? Father, deliver me from this hour? On the contrary, I came to this hour for this very purpose. Father, glorify your own name." Then a voice from heaven said, "I have both glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The crowd standing by who heard it, however, remarked, "It thunders." Others said, "An angel has spoken with him." Jesus answered and said, "This voice has not come for my own sake, but for yours. Now is the crisis of this world. Now the prince of this world will be expelled, and when I am lifted up from the earth, I shall attract all towards myself." He said this, however, illustrative of the death he was about to die. The crowd therefore remarked to him, "We have heard out of the law that the Messiah continues forever. And so how can you say that it is necessary for the Son of Man to be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man?" Jesus said to them, "The light is with you for a little while longer. Walk while you possess the light, so that darkness may not overtake you. The traveler in the dark does not know where he is going. While you possess the light, believe in the light, so that you may become sons of light." Having made these remarks, Jesus took his departure, withdrawing from them privately. For although he had produced so many evidences before them, yet they did not believe in him, so that the word of Isaiah the prophet might be verified, which said, "Lord, who has believed our statement, and to whom was the arm of the Lord revealed?" For this reason they were not able to believe, because Isaiah further said, "Their eyes were blind, and their heart degenerated, so that they see not with their eyes, and understand not with their heart, and return, that I might heal them." Isaiah said this when he saw his rectifying power, and spoke concerning him. Even among the nobles, indeed, many believed on him. But on account of the Pharisees they did not acknowledge it, lest they should be expelled from the synagogue. For they loved the approval of men more than the approbation of God. Jesus then raising his voice said, "Let the believer in me not believe on me, but rather on my sender. Then whoever sees me will see my sender. I have come a light into the world, so that everyone believing in me may not continue in the darkness. And if anyone should hear my statements and fail to observe them, I do not condemn him, because I do not come to the world to condemn the world, but so that I might save the world. Whoever rejects me and will not accept my declarations is self-condemned. The message which I declared will itself convict him at the last day. For I have not spoken from myself, but the Father himself who sent me has given me an order what I should declare and what I should publish. And I know that his order is life eternal. Whatever I therefore say, I say it in accordance with the Father's instruction to me. Chapter 13. Now prior to the festival of the Passover, Jesus, knowing that his hour had come, the time for departure from this world to the Father, having loved his friends in the world, he loved them to the end. And during supper, the devil having already put it into the heart of Judas, Simon of Iscariot, that he should betray him, knowing that the Father had given everything into his hands, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he arose from the table, and putting off his robes and taking a towel, wrapped it round him. Then he poured water into the basin, and began to wash the feet of the disciples, wiping them with the towel with which he was wrapped. He came thus to Simon Peter, who said to him, Master, do you mean to wash my feet? What I am doing you do not understand now, said Jesus in reply to him, but you will understand it afterwards. You shall never at any time wash my feet, said Peter. If I do not wash you, replied Jesus, you have no part with me. Master, not my feet alone, said Simon Peter to him, but also my hands and my head. He who has bathed, Jesus replied, only requires to have his feet washed, the rest of his body being perfectly clean, and you are clean, although not all. For he knew his betrayer. Therefore he said, You are not all clean. Then when he had washed their feet and taken his robes and reclined again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and master, and you speak correctly, because I am so. If I then, the master and the teacher, have washed your feet, you ought also to wash the feet of one another. For I have given you an example, so that you should also do as I have done to you. Most assuredly I tell you, a slave is not greater than his master, nor a messenger greater than his sender. If you know this, you are happy if you practice it. I do not refer to the whole of you. I know whom I have chosen, but it is so for the fulfillment of this Scripture. The one who partook of my bread has raised his heel against me. I tell you this before it happens, so that when it does come, you may believe that I am. I tell you a fact. The man who receives anyone whom I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives my sender. Saying this, Jesus was distressed in spirit, and exclaimed, I tell you most truly, that one of you will betray me. The disciples looked at one another, in doubt as to whom he referred. One of his disciples, one whom Jesus loved, was leaning upon the lap of Jesus. Simon Peter therefore made a sign to him, saying, Ask who it is he is speaking about. Leaning back then upon the breast of Jesus, he asked him, Who is it, Master? He is the one, replied Jesus, for whom I shall dip this morsel, and to whom I shall give it. When therefore he had dipped the morsel, he handed it to Judas, Simon of Iscariot. And after receiving the morsel, Satan entered into him. Jesus therefore said to him, What you have to do, do quickly. None reclining at the table understood why he had spoken to him in this way, but some supposed that, as Judas was treasurer, Jesus had told him to buy the necessaries for the festival, or give something to the poor. Having therefore received the morsel, he at once went out, and it was night. Then when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man shall be exalted, and God will be exalted through him, and God will exalt him to himself, and he will exalt him immediately. Little children, I am still with you for a little while. You will search for me, and what I told the Judeans I tell even now to you. Where I go, you are unable to follow. I give you a new command, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. In the same way, you ought also to love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love to one another. Where, Master, are you going? Simon Peter asked him. Where I am going, answered Jesus. "You are not able to follow now, but you shall follow afterwards." "Lord, why cannot I follow you even now?" Peter asked him. "I will lay down my life for you." "Will you lay down your life for me?" replied Jesus. "I tell you most assuredly that the bugle will not sound until you have thrice denied me." The end of chapters 10 through 13. Recording by Mark Penfold.